For doctors across New Orleans, it's a heartbreaking job treating children with gunshot wounds, and it weighs heavier with each young patient.
And tonight, Olivia Vidal speaks with the doctors on the front lines fighting to save not only the lives of these critically injured children, but also support each other while working to find solutions.
It's really sad to see in our neighborhood.
Everyone who has guns in their homes to protect their homes and protect their children.
99, 10 in the twin span.
We finding ourselves in multiple situations where crime and gun violence are affecting our youth.
At least 93 shot, 13 killed just this year. Juvenile victims of gun violence in New Orleans, all under the age of 18.
I think particularly in infants and toddlers, it's incredibly hard, but also our teenagers are still someone's baby. They're going to be someone's baby forever.
Lives shattered.
She wasn't moving when I saw her, and that was about as much as I wanted to see.
It is heartbreaking, really, to be the person to tell a family that their kid died and that we can't do anything to fix it.
At University Medical Center and Children's Hospital, doctors like Anna McFarland are often the first to help families cope with these tragedies. It makes the job of first responders a delicate one.
One of the challenging things about having chronic community violence is that people feel unsafe for long periods of time. Many of the children that we talk to in New Orleans are afraid to go to school, afraid to leave their home because of all of the community violence that they've witnessed.
Dr. Julie Kaplow at Children's Hospital's Grief and Trauma Center has experience with mass shooting response. In 2018, she provided trauma care in Santa Fe, Texas, following a high school shooting where a teenager shot and killed 10 people. Whether it's events like this or individual acts of violence on the streets of New Orleans, she says it's important to help kids feel safe.
To some degree, it can feel like a one-time incident versus children who are growing up in environments where gun violence is the norm, where they are constantly on high alert, where they're actually saying things like, I don't know if I'm going to live to be 21.
Dr. Aaron Ruther, clinical psychologist at Oxnard Children's Hospital, says shootings can trigger strong emotional reactions for younger patients, whether they were a victim or simply just a witness.
We know that when community trauma happens, it doesn't happen to just one person. It happens to the whole family, happens to the whole community sometimes.
And the shootings drastically increasing.
And so we're seeing sort of this snowball effect of increasing violence in this city.
The numbers out of UMC alone rose from 26 shooting victims under the age of 16 in 2017 to 69 in 2021. That's according to data out of UMC's Trauma Center. All of these doctors say they too feel the emotional weight of these tragedies. The numbers at UMC alone rose from 26 shooting victims under the age of 16 in 2017 to 69 in 2021, according to data out of UMC's Trauma Center. All of these doctors say they also feel the emotional weight of these tragedies.
I think it is quite jarring to see these small children coming in with sort of what we typically think of as big kid or big people problems. And there's just this disconnect that is incredibly emotional for everyone who sees it. It is still children, it is still mass violence, just on a chronic level as opposed to a sort of a one event. So it is still incredibly traumatic. As much as you can, you try to leave it at work.
For some doctors, those tough moments fuel their passion to help others in times of need.
I get that question a lot of like, oh, is it hard for you to do this every day? And actually, I don't think it is, right? If I can help a family get through a difficult situation and make this very difficult part of their life a little bit easier for them, it's actually, it's a privilege to be able to do that.
Others feel the impact on their coworkers.
It is extremely difficult to process emotions around watching other people who are vulnerable get hurt. And I think one of the things that is so important to do is to recognize your own threshold for what you can tolerate hearing.
Some local doctors are turning that pain into purpose.
How can we channel our own emotions into action? How can we process our own emotions as a community of pediatricians, but also how do we channel that into the next steps of action?
Tulane University pediatrician Dr. Kim Mukherjee joined doctors across the country with the hashtag Doctors for Gun Safety, working with advocacy groups, donating to causes, writing letters to lawmakers, and speaking on the issue with other pediatricians.
As pediatricians, our job is to make sure that they stay safe, that children are able to grow and thrive and become healthy adults. And I think as pediatricians in particular, when we see children not only dying from gun violence, but also being victims of the consequences of gun violence in community, we know we have to address this because it directly impacts our patients.
She says it's about cultivating their voices as pediatricians, but also as advocates for children, as well as incorporating gun safety into conversations with families.
We know, particularly in communities like New Orleans, gun violence and trauma exposure is something that too many of our patients deal with on an everyday basis.
In the hopes of making New Orleans a safer place for some of its most vulnerable citizens, its children.
You know, we always say that kids are our future, but we have to ensure that they have a future if we're going to really believe our words there, and it's up to all of us to make sure that happens.
Reporting, Olivia Vidal, Fox 8, Local First.